but also an old friend of yours, Tyrus, aka Brodus Clay, recently retired from the NWA and maybe professional wrestling in general. Any thoughts on this? Because again, there's thoughts on him in NWA, but there's like this whole different ballgame of Brodus Clay and what you did with him, and people loved.
Yeah, I also feel like that's a touchy conversation just in general, just for things that have just been going around with Tyrus lately. I feel like I'm not quite sure how old he is, but I know, it's been some time since we were doing the Funkadactyls and the whole Funkasaurus thing. I feel like, there comes a time, especially, don't get me wrong, I feel like in the wrestling community, they stay stuck in like time. It's like, you can never progress. It's like I even say I'll be in my grave and they're like, hey girl, when are you returning to the ring? It's like, well, I'm no longer on this earth anymore. I do think there comes a time where, it's time to hang up the boots. I feel like he's doing really good with what he's doing, doing Fox and the whole nine. But I always say never, because people who you think retire always end up somehow, some form, some fashion, their AWS ends back in the ring, even they're like, I'm 90, but I am back. It's just, it always comes back full circle. History is always repeating itself. So even when people say I'm retired, I'm like, are you really? Are you really? Because it's something about wrestling. It's like, I think people get so caught up with like who a character is, the fame, being in front of, millions of people, because through social media and television, all this, and having like that glory, and you're doing what you love. I think it's really hard for a lot of people just to completely walk away from it, because I think if you think about any athlete, any entertainer, any actress, any of these people, like even when they retire, they say they feel like this emptiness, because it's like that's what your life is, and that's what you feed off, and that's what gets you up in the morning. And there is something about like that dopamine when you're out in front of a huge crowd that is like cheering or booing or whatever, that makes you, I don't know, it's like a high. So I think it's very hard a lot of times for people to walk away completely. So even if he's not wrestling in some form or fashion, I feel like he'll end up doing something that's in that world.